going to be a bumpy night.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Laugh Bunker podcast. Glad to be back. It's been about, what, 2 weeks, Paul? Almost since the last
couple
episode?
Weeks, yes.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, scheduling, blah, blah. But good to see you.
Life. Good to see you.
This is it's a brand new week. It's a good new week. How's everything?
Oh, really? It's the end of the week, but
yeah,
cool.
That's true, actually. Yeah. How's everything going?
Just, excellent. Good. Just tired because the work's been just crazy. I mean, I'm talking about some of the craziest stuff that I have experienced in the industry, hotel industry.
What's been different this past couple of weeks?
I know our old location is only running about 10 to 12%.
It went back down?
Yeah, I haven't checked a friend of ours.
Okay.
It was a friend of a friend.
Okay.
From the Bell Desk area was talking to me and in code. So I could have misinterpreted, but he told me that he was there yesterday and it was 12%.
Wow. Okay.
Now we've run up to 86%.
Okay.
With one person.
And at the desk.
And everything.
That's tough.
So when I show up at 8, it can be zoo time.
Yeah.
And okay, the bullshitting and hanging with the people, loving it, making people laugh. I like this. So I get this call that there's a fight. Women are fighting on the 8th floor, whatever it was. So I go up there and I'm talking about screaming and yelling like this has got to be a movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? This can't be happening. So I knock on the door opens. The lady who comes to the door is dressed in an outfit that is not appropriate. Outside an adult theater. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
But the other girl has no clothes on. And they want me to expel the naked lady. and these are 20-year-old ladies. Okay. So I told the one lady, I said, "Are you the registered guest?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm not doing
this.
It.
This was a scantily clad one or the naked one that was a registered guest?
The naked one was screaming in the room. So I said, "You got to get clothes on her because I'm not entering this room.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call the police."
Yeah.
And I do this
at that point. That's what you pretty much you have to.
Oh, no. Hey. So she said, okay, they close the door. The screaming goes crazy. The door opens and the naked girl comes out and starts screaming at me.
Okay. Naked
from waist up.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm like, what the heck? So we call the police come in, they handcuff the naked lady.
Okay.
And, it was so out of control. 2 or 3 hours of my night of dealing.
Now, how long did it take for the cops to get there?
Cops were there quick because we're right around the corner.
Right. Okay.
From the station. Yeah. And truth is that the PPD, they are right on. Every time I've dealt with them, they're gentlemen.
That's good.
But this guy, they finally told the girl, "Hey, you got to be quiet.
Yeah.
Or you're going to jail."
Yeah.
So we went ahead and we got they handcuffed her, took her downstairs, the other ones, and they were guests on the show, one of these judge shows that's on TV.
Okay.
So they were one of these people that were involved. And I can just imagine what the show is going to be about. But anyway, so
that's interesting that they're filming those type of shows during like the pandemic. So I guess it's fairly easy. You could have the judge, the court officer, and then
they might not even have audience right now.
Yeah, they probably won't even. You don't need an audience.
Probably, really. You could cover it. So then the next night, one of the floors is closed. I hear water going. I ask if it's call the front desk occupied. It's not. It's a homeless guy. He has it latched. I'm there by myself. It's me and a girl. And downstairs. Yeah. This guy bursts out. This is yesterday.
That's happened before. Is it just the housekeepers are not closing their doors properly? Is that what's going on, or what's? It's got to be it, right?
I can't make any comment on that situation, but I'll just say that people are not locking the windows. So first of all,
are they coming in through the windows?
Yeah, and I'll tell you how this guy got in. because
Okay.
you'll know the location. So this guy busts out of the door.
Yeah, because I used to
me.
work at your location.
Yeah,
Like, that was my first hotel
so
job.
this was on the 3rd floor.
Uh-huh.
No one's supposed to be there. He busts out of the room, pushes me against the back wall, takes off down the stairs. Those stairs are the ones that go all the way down the valet. They go past 2nd floor valet.
Yeah,
I'm racing down these stairs, and this is like 1970 shit. You know what I mean? Like French Connection.
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Just running down the stairs, and he's like, F you, and I'm just running after him. I'm going to crush this guy, I swear to God, or I'm going to fall and be killed. Those are the only 2 options. So
I saw that movie. I watched it not that long ago.
See, so he busts out, goes through the valet, and then runs through the seminary.
Okay.
And then there's that big church on the corner there, and on the stairs, this big homeless African American lady starts making fun of me. like I didn't have any speed or something, you know, like I need to train more, you know, like, so I just went in the hotel.
You say, hey lady, I hike.
Hey, you know, anyway, so that was my 2 nights of that, and just, so I'm just exhausted on Fridays normally. When we do this, my brain's dead. I'm tired. I only slept about 4 hours because I tried to go ahead and sleep only a few hours, so I'm wasted. And sometimes I'll sleep 10 or 12 hours tonight. But I think tomorrow my daughter has to take photographs, so I think we might get up early and go to Venice Beach in the morning. Okay. And then I think Sunday, if I'm off this weekend, then me and Moses and Corey, we're going to go hike to the top of Baldy and camp up there for the sunrise, party a little bit, hang out. So
trails are open.
Well, none of the good ones.
Okay.
So everything we had permitted for is closed this year.
Okay.
So everything in the ENOJY National Forest moving up through near Mount Whitney, Mount Wilmington, and then the San Giorgio area of the San Pedro National or San Bernardino National Forest is closed. Even Mount Wilson by my house, that whole area is closed.
Yeah, because the fires were going on for quite a while. I mean, the entire month of August almost. You know,
so and even then it's still smoldering. They said it's only 92% contained.
Yeah.
So when we went up on Lake Street, I went up on Lake Street and hiked on Tuesday morning. It was nice. It was the first day, but it's amazing. Your fitness just drops.
Oh yeah.
Just huge.
You take a week off, or 2 weeks off. I mean, you took like a good solid month off from hiking. I mean,
and I ate a lot of pizza during that time.
Yeah.
A lot of carbs. There was some alcohol, I'm sure, involved.
Yeah.
So,
that's the
but
thing.
Anyway,
holidays are coming up. You know,
the wife has her play coming out. They have to do it outside. Can only have so much of an audience. So I'm building a set. And I don't know the name of the play, but it takes place in northern Connecticut. So I got to figure out a way. You know, you can't build sets for outdoor stages that are going to work. Ain't going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try to create elements that we find in a forest. Okay. Or a fence or mailboxes or like a country road, because I do have it. So I was up there working on that.
What kind of setting is it? What kind of location? Because you could probably even use the location, outdoor location, as
well. It is outside. In fact, it's in. I'll send you a picture of where it'll be, and you'll understand it. The problem is the structure behind it, which is this villa that's fashioned after a famous villa in Turin. This rich guy built it years ago. He owned all that property and then gave it to the Roman Catholic Church. And that's how the Immaculate Heart or Sisters started that school. So that's where, but the villa there, it's magnificent. It's like you're in freaking Rome. And if you Google the villa at Alverno, you'll see the pictures. You're like, I've always wanted to shoot my wife more than me, because I don't follow horror, but she said, we have that whole location. If we had a story, we could go in there and shoot a horror film in one location. Yeah. And there's some creepy shit in there. Okay. I mean, when you go down into the basement, where the old wine rooms were and different things, and there's passages. Plus, it's just creepy because of what it is. Tons of stuff been shot there.
Yeah.
Legally Blonde was shot there.
Oh, nice.
Her dorm.
Where is this at in particular? Like, where's the location?
It's at Alverno High School and up in Sierra Madre. So if you drive right by the property, you see the massive gates going to it, and then the school came afterwards. But I mean, lots of TV shows are shot there, or were.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a lot of money out of that.
Is your wife a big horror person, like horror fan? Or it's like she entertains the horror movies and
she would say living with me would be the horror, but not horror as in a prostitute. Though I will whore myself out for pizza and candy. So but no, she does, and she likes thrillers. So since we're talking about our media, a show I once a week I try to hook up with my wife and watch what she likes. And so she brought this show to me called Evil. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think we might have talked about it one time. But
I think we talked because last week we couldn't technically
we talked about it last week, but we didn't record that.
We did not record. So I watched this show. And it's interesting because you're looking on Netflix and on Amazon. Halloween and horror is really
everything
this time of year. So I watched it, and what I liked about it was that it's what they're doing. Is they're trying to prove whether these incidents are supernatural, leading to some sort of spiritual deity, God, the devil, or is there a clinical reason for it happening? Okay. And the lady who's the skeptic is the clinical professor. Okay. And the African-American guy is a priest.
Oh, nice.
And I like it because he's a flawed person, which we all are. And I respect his faith. And it also has two guys from Lost. Asif Mandevi and Michael Emerson. Mandevi was right from the beginning, and then Emerson went ahead and came on later when Lost got weird as shit. Where I couldn't understand. He was part of the other people.
Yeah, the others.
The others.
He was kind of like the beady-eyed, glasses, shorter. He ended up on a show with Jim Caviezel.
Yep.
God, what was it called? Human Target.
I don't know, but I think he wore the same glasses.
He has the same look,
because he was creepy.
Yeah.
Anyway, since we're talking about what we've been watching.
Yeah.
Just bringing that up for a minute when you asked about my wife Halloween.
Yeah.
I liked the show. I only watched a couple episodes, but it goes with the times. You know, I mean, Halloween is. Would you say that there's more horror movies made about slashers or supernatural? You're a horror guy more than me, and like the devil. I would think the devil's probably a big co-star in a lot of
supernatural. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think it's
but slashers are very easy. I think slashers are a little bit budget-wise easier to make, maybe.
Of course, well, especially in the digital age, or even before with green screen, or how about before with just 35 mil to make that stuff work.
Yeah. The next episode we should do, because it's closer to Halloween, we should do like more of a horror movie part 2. I know Moses and Corey were not. Thought we needed to go more into.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we camp this weekend together, we'll be up hanging out. So I will. I'll have a discussion with them, and I'll get their feedback on. I'll even record it a little bit, maybe if I can. So yes, we will cover that. So anyway, before we go, what we've been watching other than Evil, everything good with you? What have you been doing?
You know what? It's trying to think of like what I've been doing. Been working on a lot of school. It's midterms. I'm taking classes. Obviously, we've talked about it. But
how many hours are you taking?
I got 3 classes, 3 full-time classes. I guess I'm not sure what that adds up to.
9 or 10,
something 12? Like that. Yeah. And then the midterms week, so a couple essays, a couple of.
Are you doing your classes online, like Zoom, like my wife and everything?
No, well. There is that element to it, but I don't participate. Luckily, they're not mandatory. So I'm just.
So do you have other students you see and hear?
No, like I don't do the Zooms. I don't care too much for the Zoom. I'm too busy to like take an hour just to attend a Zoom meeting it does me nothing. So
but you give projects.
Yeah. So they post up everything for the week. You have the lessons. You might have a video presentation of a lesson from the professor, and then you go through the modules. There's a couple of assignments, maybe a quiz, maybe one big assignment, but this week was midterm, so I've had a couple of larger assignments to do. Last night, working on a script. I got 4 pages out of 5. It's about 5 to 8 pages that we're
required to write. What software are you using?
It's a website called, let's see, let me get the name of it. It's right here. Actually, I have the link up. Writer Do It.
Yeah,
Writer Do It.
I used the Professional.
Okay.
You know what happened to me? When I moved, I wasn't a writer when I moved out here. So I had this program called Scripts.
Okay.
And it was started by the Ed Norton, the writer, the actor. He's in your movie. He's in your war movie we're going to talk about today. David Private Ryan. Well, he co-sponsored this because he did a couple independent films as a writer-director himself.
Yeah, recently.
A couple of them were pretty famous, though.
Yeah.
One might have been called The Irishman. And but not that. No,
not that Irishman.
No, but no, it's something about an Irish family. He wrote
he just recently, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, within 10 years or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But he had this company called Scripted, and you paid, I don't know, it was like 99 cents a month or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
They crashed.
Oh.
And I had not backed up tons of freaking work and lots of other people. So what they did out of fear of massive lawsuits, or that's what I suspect, they went ahead and they gave everybody free Writer's Duet Professional.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I had. Now, if you went to school, when I took the script writing, screenwriting, I didn't take 1 because I was above that level and I submitted work. So when I took 2, they had a code for, it's the software program, and I can't think of it up.
It starts with a C. It's like a short word.
No. It's not Celtic. No,
Celtic. Okay, there you go.
This is the number 1, but they had a code, and it was like 13 something a month or whatever because you were a college student. And what was nice is that translated to storyboards.
Okay.
And I'll look up the name of it and tell you. So.
Right.
Anyway, so Writer's Duet works, but don't put it on your app on your phone.
Oh no, I'm not doing it
because I butt dialed or I opened it up and erased half a scene of a script.
Your butt was swiping right, swiping left.
Yeah, my butt is a little bit. My butt follows cancel culture, so it just wiped it out, and it doesn't even exist anymore. But weird letters that I don't know what the hell code is. But anyway, that's good. So I, you know what? The truth is, if I was a rich person, and someone gave me a lot of money right now, I would probably go back to school. And I would like to go to big. I mean, if you asked me where I would want to go to school, you would laugh, but I would say Harvard.
Okay. No.
And the reason is that if you're going to go to the best, and I don't know, I enjoy school. I'm not a math guy. I like more literature, but I find when you're around competitive and smart people, you just to me it's a fuel. And I love it, man. I love when people are just bringing ideas and moving forward. I like it. So I find it very competitive.
Would you go for a specific degree, or would you just go to like entertain yourself, basically? Enrich yourself.
I'm pretty good at entertaining myself here in my own house in COVID. In fact, I'm a professional. But
I enrich yourself, I mean, in terms of with knowledge.
It would be English.
Okay.
And the reason is that I don't understand or know all the principles of grammar.
No, same.
And so when you're writing dialogue or, I don't know. And I spent so much of my writing life screwing around.
Yeah.
And even I told you about a program that I use for editing.
Yeah.
It takes the writers have their own voice, and it takes it out because it corrects. And then you're like, oh, are you correcting it because it's not colloquial correct, or it's maybe not appropriate, or are you correcting it because it's actually a rule?
Yeah.
So I would learn. I mean, I could probably do this online, but I would do English, because if I knew, when you know the tools and the foundations, and you build off that,
good grammar,
then my writing is just, potentially just explodes, because I'm not spending all this. And you know how OCD I am.
Yeah. No, I'm very similar. Like it's like, I don't know if it's like a creative thing, but even when I was like younger and I used to draw a lot, I hated when people would look at my stuff, or like I'd get nervous about, even in school, people reading my writing, even though I knew it was fine. Like grammar wise, I was always like just worried that they were just going to pick it apart. And even in college, when I was doing the internships, to write like a small paragraph that I knew that was going to go on the official website, it would just freak me out every time I had to do something like that. And then like my superior or supervisor would end up having to read it, and then I just hated it. I had 2 internships, and the second one especially, I had to do a lot more writing for that one, and I knew my writing was okay, but to have somebody read it and it had to be put out quickly, it was pretty nerve-wracking at times. So I don't know. I think it's just the same way. Grammar. I'm not an expert on grammar, and that makes me nervous when people see a lot of, when I have to present writing.
Well, when I went to
even my wife proofreads it, I get nervous when she looks at it.
Oh, my wife is.
She's a lot better at it than I am.
My wife is, she's on a whole other level when it comes to proofing. And it's funny because sometimes she'll also try to take the voice out. Mm. I mean, there's a lot of liberty with also grammar, with the semicolon and different articles. But it's something that it's like having the right tools. Yeah. Like for me to come to your house and fix something, well, I have the shit. So, it just, when you have the right tools, it makes things easier. And to know English. When my wife and we went to college for a couple semesters to study Spanish in Chicago at Truman College. And I was doing it because I was traveling a lot and climbing in South America and Mexico a lot. And I don't expect anyone to speak English where I go. And plus it keeps you safer if you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we were having to do these dialogues and monologues. And finally the professora lady said to my wife, "Your husband slaughters Spanish." And then my wife said, "Well, you ought to hear his English." So that being said, I studied in Chicago, on work sites where some of the best English. Huh?
Did your wife pick it up better than you did?
No, I understand. And even at the hotel, but I have no practicar.
Yeah.
So I talk like I'm handicapped, and yet I understand, because if you know the verbs and the endings, you can put together pretty much who the subject is.
Yeah.
So
you can.
It's pretty easy when, I would couple times. In fact, one time these housekeepers where we used to work were talking, and I knew what they were saying. They weren't saying it about me, but they were talking, and I said, "Cuidado, yo comprendo." And their eyes, I'd never spoken anything to them. And the look on their face, because they're thinking not what they were just saying. They were thinking, what have I said?
What have I said around this guy or about this guy?
So anyway, that would be something that I love education.
Yeah.
Smart people turn me on. I'm very blessed to I am not smart, but I'm blessed to be surrounded with some intelligent people.
Yeah.
And so that, plus I like the, movie Social Network. So that just seems like the place to go.
Yeah.
The music is awesome there. So,
was I there? No. I went on campus before. Have you been on campus?
No, I've never been there. I've never been to Boston or Massachusetts.
Oh, no. Yeah. I was there. I almost forgot I was there. 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So
2 years ago.
When was that before or after the so? Is there anything you saw in your head that? So
I didn't even think about the movie while I was there. I don't know why. It's a very beautiful campus, and I remember like there's students everywhere in the little town that's interwoven within the campus. It's like, streets of restaurants and shops and bookstores and all that. It all has to do with Harvard. It just Harvard is that whole little patch of town that's around there. But we got to stop there, eat, stop at one of the bookstores, walked around the campus for a little bit. We didn't get to see a whole lot of it. That was a trip.
Is it big though? It's probably huge.
It's big. It's a huge campus. Yeah. I forgot what spots we went to. But I remember how it looked and all that.
Isn't really, that the oldest? That's the oldest school,
I think
right?
So.
Didn't we look that up? And I believe it was #1, and William Marriott was #2 or something like that.
Yeah. So that trip we did, we started out in Montreal. So I flew into Chicago,
really?
And then had a layover in Chicago. Went over to Montreal. I enjoyed Montreal. It was pretty cool to see. Like
my mom and sister went up there a lot when we lived in Michigan. They liked it too because of the French feel and the different vibe.
It's a different vibe. It's got that. It's a mix of English and French up there. The TV, same thing. Every other channel's in French. The old part of Montreal, we found a really good restaurant that's kind of family owned, and the lady there was like just treated us like it was like her kitchen. It was a great place. I think
those are the best places, man.
Yeah, I think it was called Red. It was like Robin. It was like Robin's or something like that. I don't remember what it was. Great food. They have a big casino there. Like the city owns it, or the province or whatever. I don't know. They don't have states up there, is it? I don't know what they call
No,
it.
Province,
right? So the government owns the one casino in town. It's huge. It's like it looks like a stadium from the outside. It's
kind of like New York in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
One family ran it.
Yeah. So we did that. Then we went over to Boston.
How far of a drive? So you drove there?
No, I think we flew into Boston.
Okay. Why'd you go to Montreal though?
I don't know. I think it seemed like a cool thing to do. Start in Montreal and then fly to Boston. Then from Boston.
So you flew from LA to Montreal?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I did.
Really?
No. New York to LA. So it was like a 3-city trip. So Montreal, Boston. We went to Salem. I think Rhode Island's right there too, right? And then
they're all over there. There's a bunch of shit. You know? Nobody knows where they are.
And then to New York. So when
you went to New York, did you go to Broadway or
we stayed on Broadway, on Times Square. Yeah. I wouldn't suggest that. That was the second time I've been to New York, and that was the first time being that close to the Times Square area. It was at the Marriott Marquis, which it's huge hotel. But I mean, you literally step out the door and go to the right, and you're on Broadway right there. So it's Times Square. It's too crowded. I would go further down. The first time I was in New York, we stayed in Chelsea, which is just like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes down the road. It's a big difference.
I had a couple friends who, one guy for sure, Jeff Locke. He went and they went to Times Square for New Year's Eve.
Oh, really?
And they went one time. They stood there forever. I can't do that. I don't have a big enough bladder. And my wife, though, she stayed east side, west by the Central Park.
Okay. Yeah.
And then stayed in Brooklyn with some students of ex-students who go to I think Columbia.
Okay.
And they went ahead or no, NYU, sorry. And they went they would take the train in. Mm-hmm. You know, when we have someone from New York, I love it. I mean, you want to think about people.
They're very straightforward.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you might not like what they say, but at least it's not the BS of LA.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I always ask where people are from, it's my favorite thing in the hotel, and they say, well, I said, where were you born? But when I was talking to these guys, 2 guys from Brooklyn the other day, and that's such a badass name, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
And I said, that's the most badass, and they said no, Bronx.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I thought that. So with the guys from, these were some tough looking dudes from Brooklyn, saying it's the Bronx, and the way they said it, it was like, yep, that's. Have you been to the Bronx?
I've been to Brooklyn. I've been to the Bronx.
What is it? I've been to Brooklyn, the Bronx, the Queens, right?
Yeah,
Queens is in there too.
Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Manhattan, North
If
Bergen.
if you had money, because if I had money, I would do this myself.
Yeah.
But I think it would be so cool to live if you didn't have to worry about money, but and not living super richy, but just really live there for like 6 months.
Oh yeah.
I think you could do. I would do some great writing.
Oh
it would just be. There's
it's
something
so
powerful about it.
It's
I've never been there, but everybody who goes there is like jazzed up like you are.
It looks like the movies. The feel of it. I mean, people will run you over if you don't watch it when you're crossing the streets, like because like especially in the downtown area, it's
packed out.
It's packed. It's pretty crazy, but no, it's cool. I loved it, and I went there twice, and I enjoyed it every single time. It's
everybody says this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying I've not been there.
You know what makes it cool is that there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of different cultures. It's just the hustle and bustle of it all, and then the ease of moving around, going to Coney Island or going to like Queens or Brooklyn or like a Central Park area, and like you just hop on the subway and then just.
Well, I mean that's everybody who.
That's what I enjoyed the most.
In the city. No, I mean it's
no driving.
That's what Chicago was.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived a couple blocks from the L train that ran all the way from Evanston all the way down to, Indiana, so we never drove in Chicago much unless it was a job or whatever because the parking. So that is nice. Though when you were on the subway, was it very crowded? A lot of people there?
No, I don't think at any time was it overcrowded. There's always a spot to sit, and if you didn't have a spot to sit, you just hold on to the rails, and you're pretty good. But
for a good groping,
yeah.
So, when you go to New York? What's your favorite? Like, what did you like? What was your favorite chow food? I mean, what was something that tasted great?
Went to Katz's Deli, the big deli, big Jewish deli over there. And let's see. There's this one Chinese restaurant. So we were at the second time I was there, we took the train over to Chinatown because we wanted to go check out Chinatown and then get some food. And it was kind of late at night, so there wasn't a lot going on. Ended up finding this really good restaurant. I think we were in Wall Street. We were by Wall Street, so I took the train over to Chinatown, which wasn't that far away. And then when we got there, that's when we saw that there wasn't a lot going on. So we went. The restaurant was in between all these buildings and residential.
That area kind of dead at night, isn't it?
It is. And then you go in there. We're walking through these buildings and these alleys. It's kind of sketchy, and I mean, you could have easily been mugged at any time. Some of the businesses were closed, some were open.
Imagine walking in that in the 70s.
Yeah. And so this restaurant is down in the basement. I'll send you a picture of it too. What was the name of it? I just looked at it. I just actually looked it up the other day, for memories. But it was down in the basement. So you go down a flight of stairs, open the door. Chinese restaurant. I was telling. It's funny because I was telling people, the group I was with. I was like, they're like, "Oh, where are we going?" Because I picked the restaurant. I'm usually like the one that picks the restaurants. And are
you good at that?
Yeah, I think I'm good at that. Yeah. And
I have a friend, Kurt, who is not.
Oh, really?
In fact, every time he's picked something on a climbing trip, it is the worst food.
Really?
But how did you? I mean,
yeah.
You don't go to Western Colorado and get Thai food.
No.
Not in a mountain town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, but would you go back there?
Oh yeah. It was great.
What did you have to eat though?
A variety of exotic kind of Chinese food. I mean, not your typical orange chicken, I was telling you, because it was kind of sketchy going over there, that I told the group I was with, I was like, don't worry, because they're not that type of like adventurous with their food. I was like, we're in this kind of environment.
Really?
I told them,
you want to come over to my neighborhood?
Yeah.
I went to a restaurant the other day. Not only could I not read anything on the menu, there's nothing in those pots I've seen before.
This is this kind of place. But you get down there and you could tell it's kind of the big local spot, because you have the owner with like the local politicians and this and this.
Well, I mean, if it's by Wall Street, that's where people are. That's their clientele Monday through Friday for sure.
Yeah. So it was cool. And I told them, I'm like, listen, this is the type of place, the food's going to be good. I guarantee it. If you don't have a roach that crawls over your foot, then, or like they don't have a C letter on the front of their window, then you know, then you know
I'm looking for. Is there an F? I mean, is it an actual grading scale? Like, is it a Scholastic? Because I've never seen a D.
But the place is good. The place is good, and then it was great. What's funny enough was that they had some bowls that were clean, and there was a little dead spider in the middle of the bowl, and and I was like, see, there you go. You know this place is gonna be good. And then
I will tell you that when I was in high school, I cooked, freshman year in college, I cooked at an Italian restaurant, and I had cut my finger, and I had a big bandage, and I was making lasagnas, and I lost that bandage on either 8 to 10 trays, and I just moved on. Yeah. It was a little chewy. It was the cheese was chewy on that lasagna, but after you work in a restaurant, man, by the way, it's like working in the hotel.
Yeah.
It takes the magic a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. How many restaurants have you worked in? I worked in, I mean, I don't think Subway or any of those kind of places count as restaurants, but I worked in at least one. My first job was a pizza restaurant. It was
really?
Like a home, like a family-owned place. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Was the pizza good?
Pizza was good. Yeah.
Did they have the big ovens? They had the big pizza ovens and stuff?
Yeah, the big pizza ovens. I probably even have like a scar still across my forearm where you burn yourself sometimes when
getting seared.
Yep. Yep. And then you make your own calzones, and when you're I would do that all the time. Pack some of like the sausage and bacon in there and put stuff with extra cheese. Yeah, that was good stuff.
So let me go back. What was your first job?
That was my first job.
How old were you then?
Probably 17 or 18.
Okay. Yeah. My first job when I was 15 was baling hay for our neighbor. There was no hay where I lived. It was a very nice neighborhood, a very upper class, nice neighborhood. But he owned a big farm on an island off the coast in Lake Michigan. So we went out there by boat, and I baled. He had this big thing of hay out there. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really an island. It was more of a isthmus, I guess it would be called, because it did have a little bit of a connection. But so I did that, and then I was a bus boy at Mr. Fable's at 16. And then after that, though, was pretty much all cooking. And the last restaurant I worked in was that Pietro's, the Italian restaurant, freshman year of college. So I worked short order mostly and worked the line. Pietro's, though, I was a prep cook. So I learned a lot of the basics of Italian cooking. Yeah. They didn't have pizza there, though.
Okay.
So, but it was more
at an Italian place, huh?
No, it was more high. It was more of a
high-end kind of.
High-end. They made all their own pasta. Pastas, It was called Pietro's in Grand Rapids. Now they could have pizza now, but man, we would show up. You know what's so funny? If you own a restaurant, people are stealing. I'm telling you. And we would show up in the morning, and the cook, they made fresh bread, the noodles, everything, and they would be sautéing lobster tails.
Yeah.
And we had lobster sandwiches. And then one of the guys was addicted to those little things that they make, the snippets. It's the compressed air, nitrous oxide for whatever, the whipped cream and stuff.
Yeah. One
time they opened the door, and the guy just fell right out on his face. I mean, just was unconscious and hit the nasty tile floor.
Yeah.
So that was what my jobs were. truth is, there's a couple things that I added to my repertoire of cooking that I learned from the chef at our hotel.
Okay.
No, there's a couple, and there's one thing he told me about cookies.
Yeah.
Because what he told me was that, and this is a fact, when you're baking, you got to put on the air. You got to get rid of the humidity because that changes the consistency. And if you don't know how to adjust baking soda, baking powder, or even salt, or even adding an extra 2 or 3 tablespoons of flour, you're going to get the flat. It's going to be flat. He told me when he went to school, it wasn't the Culinary Institute of America, but where he went to school, when they did pastry and baking, they had to wear winter coats because it was so cold. So when I bake, I turn the air conditioning on for an hour. I usually spend that time cleaning too. I mean, when I cook, because I was cooking for other people, man, I was bleaching or baking. But also, my daughter, she worked for this guy who was a Nobel Prize physicist out in Colorado, where she went to university. And he's the one that really helped me with baking, because baking is chemistry. Cooking is an art. Baking is, you're mixing ingredients, about fully mixing, also refrigerating your dough before you bake, because that's like helps it settle and rise. So anyway, I did you know what, and we went down to Venice this last weekend, Cynthia and I. And our favorite thing is just to walk up and down the boardwalk and hit all the little restaurants. There's a phenomenal fish taco place down there.
Hold on. Oh, dude, over here. It's in the back. You gotta get some diapers.
They're good. I know. I use them on. I have to wear them on Tarantino movies. Or Super Bowls.
You were saying about Venice.
So I went down to Venice this last weekend because everything had been canceled. All our trips from Whitney, Wilmington, still things are closed, even though they have opened up a little bit. You know, so we went down there. I love it down there. And
you stayed in there for the weekend, basically, right?
Yeah, stayed on the weekend. We stayed on the boardwalk. Killer place. Venice Suites. I highly recommend it. Now, there's a lot of homeless people there, and some people might not feel comfortable, but to me, it's one of my favorite. I would say Venice Beach might be one of my favorite places in the world. And it's not just because it's beautiful and it's wild and out of control. To me, because of, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and bodybuilding and the lifting, it's very nostalgic. For you, for my wife to go to New York, you could understand where that's the Mecca. Doesn't matter where you're doing theater in the world, Broadway is going to be it. So for me, it was nice. Used to go down there all the time, lifted at Gold's Gym down there for a couple of years, was always on the boardwalk, walking, eating, hanging out. But then after working where we worked in the long drive, man, I said I would not go down there. And I didn't go down there for a couple of years. And it's gotten way more crowded than when I used to first go there 10 years ago or whatever. But anyway, we went down there. We had some killer food, and it's just these little mom and pop places that just rule. And it's food is cheap down there.
You would think it would be,
no, it's and there was just crazy ass people all over. So where we stayed on the roof, it was all open. And you could look all the way everywhere, and the sun's setting, and everyone's having a drink and hanging out. So I went up there about 11 o'clock at night, and I looked down on the boardwalk. It kind of was like that movie, I Am Legend. It is. It is crazy. They had people were dancing and partying out on the beach with these crazy lights and music, and the maniacs, crazy people running up and down the boardwalk. It was literally just bizarre. That being said, it was a great time. Had a wonderful time with my wife. We just walked and hung and just, you know, you're having a good time. You're not turning on the TV. We just hung out. We met cool people. We had cool food. That's 25 minutes from my house, man. Like, why? So I'm a little bit more motivated to go down there.
Yeah, especially now with no traffic and very little traffic at least.
Going down there, was the first time I've been in traffic since April.
Okay.
So I haven't driven.
Uh-huh.
I mean, everywhere we went, I mean, Baldy is, it's close. It's not there. But going down there, it was when, where the 10 hooks in there. And then when you get down to the backup.
You have to go through downtown, basically. So,
but it's earlier. You know what? It's better to go early.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had a good time. It was nice. You ever go down there?
You know what? Before I started working at that hotel we used to work at, a lot more. But while I was working there, on occasion, getting out at a decent time, would go over there to have a drink, and that happened like a handful of times.
I mean, at the end of the pier, the Santa Monica Pier, there's a restaurant that I love. They make the most incredible mushroom quesadillas, and their margarita it's just a bowl. It's like a 5-gallon bucket. It's just, but it was closed, and they didn't even have outside stuff going on there. Most other places had outside or the spacing. In fact,
on Venice, do they still have street performers? That's like
crazy stuff.
Okay.
People selling stuff. I usually walk around. Truth is, I gave away massive amount of money to homeless people. I mean, not saying that. I just, there were these two guys. I'm not kidding you. So, do you know where the handball courts are?
Yeah.
Behind the thing. So we walked around, and the homeless have taken those over. Those are actually.
Are they encampments now?
Yeah, solid encampments. So I walked over, and there were these kind of younger guys, and I'd seen one of them driving a bike, and they were kind of muscular, and they had this pseudo gym put together there with crazy components and whatever. And so I walked back. We walked by it, and then I told my wife, I'm going to go back. So I went in. I said, hey, can I come in here? And they were like, what? Like, what was this big muscular black guy and this other white guy with like, the big, heavy metal beard. You know what I mean? Kind of not millennial beard, heavy metal beard.
Yeah.
That like a rock band, like Megadeth or something like that.
Yeah.
So I came in and I gave them $20. I said, hey man, go have some beers. And they said, why? I said, because I just appreciate this crazy stuff, and you're working out, and I honor it. And one guy's name was Sean, and the other guy's name was Larray. So I just talked to them for a while, and then just left. But that's the stuff I like when I go down there.
Did you ask them their story and how they got there, where they're from?
No, because I'm with my wife, and But if my wife wasn't there, I would have probably brought the beers and hung out with them, because I would like to know. I'm fascinated with people. So anyway, that was a wonderful time. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I just needed a break from the house, man. Yeah. I mean, just nice to go down there. I'm motivated, and I'm going to go down. I think in late November, we might just go down if I can get off, just go down for a week down there.
Yeah. I think
just hang out, man.
Good. Every now and then, just head over there, get away.
I thought if I stayed there, you could have a bunch of people over, and you could have a party on top of that place.
Did they close that off? Can you have people up there like that?
Oh, people other than your key card. So if you walked in with me, they don't know who's in this place.
Yeah, no, they don't.
And so, but the roof's huge.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the picture I sent you of the beer can. That was just looking north. But anyway, it was a good time, and
that's good.
Had a good time with my wife. She's a good traveler. We have fun and no stress. Though I think I'll even get in the water next time.
Okay.
I would have loved to body surf. The waves were up on the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I would like to go. I haven't been out in the water in a long time, but it just looked like a good time. So it was cool.
Yeah. Last time we went on a hike, I ended up going out into the water because we went down into this cove area, and this was by Palos Verdes or whatever. It's
Oh no, I have never been over there.
yeah, it's there's a cove there.
I'm not rich enough to hike over there.
No, you had to cross the highway to get to it, but it was nice. It was like it was good. It was a big secluded little cove. It was nice to jump in the water. I haven't done that in quite a while, but
well, you know, I mean, I went through this surf culture thing going to Mexico and stuff, climbing, surfing. It's, you know, my dream, or still would be, but it's a different situation now. But I always wanted to spend my winters in Puerto Escondido and my summers in Aspen, Colorado.
Okay.
That to me is my life. Surf all winter, hike and climb all summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just now the Oaxaca and the Portal area is massively cartelled.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a whole other ball game down there. But going down there when we went, me and my wife.
Yeah.
When we first went there, you couldn't fly there. We had to fly into Acapulco and take the second class bus that was so out of control with my wife. Oh, in fact, when we went down on that trip, there was this famous goalie from the Mexican team, and he went to Chicago, and his father was kidnapped or something. Okay. Jorge Campos, I think, was his name.
What year was this?
Oh man, 90s maybe, whatever. I can't think of his name. But anyway, so his father was from that area, Acapulco, and then we're on this bus going down, and these black SUVs pulled up, stopped the bus. And they got on and they started going through in Spanish, these tough looking, you know, I don't know if they were FBI or whatever, but they were in jackets. They were somebody.
Okay.
And, you know, like the nylon jackets.
Yeah.
And so they came in and they went to get we went to hand them our passports. And the guy who I thought was from Mexico, he had a Boston accent and said, "We ain't looking for you guys." And went on and went into perfect Spanish right after us. And just, I don't know what they were doing, but it was just on that trip. But I mean, I'm talking about, it was like you're talking about.
Did they have like a mask on, like a ski mask? Is that like.
No, they were FBI people or looking for something to do with whatever. But to have that kind of accent come, I mean, the look on my face was like, it's like a leprechaun talking. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
no, well, you're lucky.
That's Spanish.
You're lucky it was FBI and it wasn't, you know, because that could happen easily with like a cartel.
No, we took we one time, my wife and daughter flew home from Porto, and a friend of mine, Peter from South Africa, but I worked with him in Chicago. He flew down and we took a bus through Central America, and we went down through Chiapas back in the 90s when the stuff in the army and there were fires, and they did stop the buses and we're pulling people off the buses. And I mean, we stick out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they were, and the people were lined up, and it was pretty. In fact, and one time I was in Mexico City 1 or 2 years after that, because we went and climbed the volcanoes, and we went to the presidential palace or building. It's by the big square in Mexico City. It has the famous Diego paintings when you walk in, the famous paintings.
Yeah.
Well, a riot started in that square, and they closed the gates of where we were in the building and took us downstairs, and we came out 3 or 4 blocks in an alley up this thing, and then head on to a main street. So, you know what though? I never felt uncomfortable ever though when I was in Mexico personally, and I don't know.
No, you know, for me too. When I was there, or whenever I'd go down there across the border, and it never really dawned on me to be fearful of anything really. And then I had family members that would go there all the time, and it was like really nothing to them. But and even just or family, like friends or whatever that weren't necessarily Mexican, they would go down there and they.
Oh man, we used to go. You know? We would go down to Monterey, and we would do mission work from our church. We climbed the volcanoes and guide people on the volcanoes outside, both outside of Mexico City and then down in Pico de Veracruz, Pico de Orizaba. And then we got hooked on to this Puerto Escondido and surfing, and we stayed in a bungalow hut
Yeah.
And it was just a different time. But it was a different time too.
It's a different time, yeah. And the violence goes in waves, it calms, and then it goes a little bit higher up. So I mean,
did you see who they just arrested?
No.
Minister of Defense, the Mexican Minister of Defense from the one president, Nito.
Yeah.
For the cartel. They arrested him at LAX airport yesterday or 2 days ago.
We've seen enough narcos to know that somebody turned on him.
It's something, but anyway, he got taken off a plane.
Oh,
at LAX.
They're waiting for him then, huh?
Yep, totally waiting for him. So
I had there was a high school in my high school. There was a teacher there, and he was either a sub or he was like relatively new. Like I think he was a Mexican national, kind of lighter skinned, blondish hair, but he had his. I think he ended up getting killed down there. He ended up on the road, and he got pulled over, and whoever he got pulled over by ended up, and he was with his family too.
Well, there was a bunch of surfers
hurt, but
down in Rosa or down at the end of the Baja.
Yeah,
there was a problem with that. But I never felt a couple times. One time we went to this place called Porto Anjal, which was south of Puerto Escondido, it's a little bay area. But I wanted to go to this beach called Zipolletti. It's kind of like the hippie party beach. And so I told my wife, I said, I'm just going to walk down. And why I possess, now imagine this. So I left them at this resort, a little restaurant area, and I said, I'm just going to walk and check out this other beach. Yeah. All I have is surf trunks, money in my surf trunks, and my rainbow leather sandals. So I'm walking down the road in a jungle. Now think about this, by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm walking, and this Mexican guy comes out, and he speaks kind of English, whatever. He looks like a university student. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to Zipolletti. He goes, hey, man, I'll show you where it's at. So I'm not thinking. All of a sudden, there's 2 guys. Then there's 3 guys. And then at the top of, and it keeps going like this asphalt road in the jungle.
Yeah.
And then at the top of this one hill was this guy with a big-ass stick. And I thought, oh, man, I'm getting it here. This is where this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And I'm thinking, how is my wife going to know, whatever. Anyway, it turned out that there was nothing, but I just had built the fear.
It could have easily been something, though.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I took a taxi back, by the way. I didn't walk. So we went to this beach, and there's just people selling big bales or bags of weed and just crazy and drinking. It's kind of like the Hideo nesting. It probably would be a Latin Burning Man. It's kind of that feel. You would feel like that. It was just crazy. Yeah. So then I walked back. Would I do that now? No. Would I drive through Mexico now? Probably not.
Probably not
anymore. But anyway, on a side note, our friend Ramon is back in town.
Oh, cool.
And we are going to be putting together the Godfather film series at his man cave again. Right. So we'll all be getting together and go over there.
Nice.
But anyway.
What have you been watching? Let's get back to what you've been watching.
Okay, so we talked about Evil.
Yeah.
Well, because this took 2 weeks to do, I've been watching tons of stuff that I can't remember.
Almost too much for me.
But there was a couple things that really stuck out. I watched Rocky a couple times.
Okay.
The Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah. Iconic.
It's just great. You top 5 sports movies we talked about, right? Maybe. Great story. It's the Chuck Wepner story with Muhammad Ali. And this is before pay-per-view, when you could watch the best in the world on Friday nights with Howard Cosell. And won Oscar. The guy who directed it, he did all the Karate Kid movies.
Okay.
John Avildsen. And Stallone wrote the movie 3.5 days. They wanted to pay him $150,000 for it back in the old days. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's over what the WJ norm is right now.
Yeah.
And he said, no way, you can't have it unless I act in it. Without that, we're not hearing Sylvester Stallone.
We're not, yeah.
So I watched that. I love that movie. Makes me feel good the whole time. I watched some NFL. some of the Patriot stuff, and then I watched The Hangover.
Okay, love it.
Now I love this movie, and this guy, this Todd Phillips, who did the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know why he did the Joker? Because he said we can't make funny movies anymore. That's what he said. That's his quote.
Like for that. Yeah. Because he did Hangover series, and then one of my favorites, Old School,
with Will Ferrell. And you know what? I love Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
He doesn't get his due because his brother's the maniac guy.
Yeah.
But I like him way better, and he's solid.
Yeah, his comedic, like, dry sense of humor
his look with his eyes.
His look, yeah.
You know, he doesn't have to say.
He doesn't have to say a lot. Yeah,
and it's got
he had a reoccurring guest role on the '70s show, and
oh really?
Yeah, he played Ashton Kutcher's brother, his older brother.
Really?
So at his
for him to do that shows what a class act that dude is, obviously.
Yeah.
But great movie. But so I did watch it. I think The Hangover I think it's one of the great Vegas movies.
Yeah.
And I am.
That's right. You can count as a Vegas movie. That's its own category. There's movies that are just revolve around Vegas, and that's definitely, I think,
it just seems like it represents. Mm-hmm. The epitome of craziness, or what stays in Vegas. I think it has no weak link at all.
One of my favorite Vegas movies, comedic Vegas movies, is probably National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation.
Was Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase. That's probably one of my favorite Vegas comedic movies.
Well, if I'm going to pick if you're going to pick Vegas, then you're a mob. I mean, you're really
kind of hard not to go with the mob.
You got Bugsy, you got Casino. I'm going to say my favorite Vegas movie is Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage, and he won the Oscar.
That one's great.
For it.
Yeah.
And it really, and I can't think who is the girl, the blonde-haired girl, the actress.
Leaving Las Vegas.
Yes, I can't think of her name offhand, but she's just spectacular, just rough and ready, and just.
Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, I mean, she just something very powerful in her performance. So that would be I go comedy with Hangover. And then there's a famous. What's the movie where someone dies and they?
In Vegas.
Yeah, it's a comedy kind of movie. I can't think of it offhand, but so I watched The Hangover, and then the last thing I watched, and this was. I watched it because of war movies. I watched Patton.
Okay, nice.
With George C. Scott.
Yeah,
and I think it's one of the great war movies. It won 7. It won 7 Oscars.
So we're going to talk about war movies. That's kind of like one of our, at least give a list of our favorites.
Yeah, but we'll go back to what you're watching. But so that was the last thing I watched.
Nice.
And the screenplay. 1970, written by Francis Ford Coppola, his first Oscar.
Let's go.
So and I've watched a smithers of other little things, but nothing that I can go. So what about you? What do you got?
As far as series, I believe I might have finished Raised by Wolves with the Ridley Scott series. I went back and was rewatching a series that was kind of short-lived, only the 2 seasons. It was produced by Mark Wahlberg for HBO. It was How to Make It in America. It was.
I never saw that.
It's one of my favorites. I thought
really?
I thought the second
text
season.
Me that.
I will.
Text it to me, please.
And the episodes are maybe 30 minutes long. But it takes place in New York. It's got two friends. They want to start a clothing business, and it's kind of just their kind of like hustle of like trying to get it done. And then you have let me give you the cast. It's a great cast. You know the actor Luis Gomez?
Yeah.
And he was in like Traffic and all these other movies. What other movies was he in? You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
You mean Jose Guzman?
No, Luis Guzman.
Yeah, I mean, Luis.
Carlito, Boogie Nights.
Yeah, I mean, Narcos.
Was he in Narcos?
Yeah, he's Gotcha.
Is he in Narcos? Let me see.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in Narcos. Yeah, pull him up right here so you can get an idea of who I'm talking about. And let's see, what else is he in? Have you ever seen that movie Waiting? It's about the restaurant. Ryan Reynolds. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, he's Gotcha in Narcos, man.
Okay. So he plays the cousin of one of the main actors in the movie in the show.
He plays the crazy guy in Punch Drunk Love too, man. Oh, this guy limey, out of sight. Oh, yeah. You know what? He learned who he was as an actor, and that's why he's in everything. He's in every stinking thing.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in this show. You have Lake Bell. You have the actor Brian Greenberg, Shannon Sossamon. It's just a fun, like New York, like show. I don't know. I love that show. So I'm in the second season now. We're watching it. I thought the second season fell flat a little bit, maybe because I think they were having trouble wondering if it was going to be picked up for a third. And I think, when was the writer's strike?
2008 or something like that.
Somewhere around there, right? I wonder if
that happened. It happened right after I moved here for film, so it was right after that. Yeah, you talking about the WGA strike, right?
Yeah, because I know the writer's strike affected a lot. No, this was 2010, final episode 2011. But yeah, that's one of my favorite shows. I was rewatching it. I wish it would picked up, somewhere else for a third season, or maybe they can even bring it back, because I think that show and those actors are just so good together. Yeah, I also went on a sci-fi kind of kick this week. Was watching the Star Trek movies with J.J. Abrams, those ones with Chris Pine and
I love that first Star Trek movie.
I just watched it last night, the first one again.
I you know what? That's a good call, because that really,
that cast is spot on, I think, in terms of for the original series. Oh,
I just love the way the other actors got together, Spock and the other chick, and or not chick, can't say that word, but then you thought that was a great switch.
Yeah.
And I loved the opening.
Yeah.
And I even loved the doctor guy.
Yeah.
He's so different in my original series than that.
Yeah. But he's he plays him right, because he's got that very snarky kind of like sarcastic attitude.
Yes, I love it. And Scotty, was so yes, I thought that was, and it looked freaking great.
It looks amazing.
And I loved his dad, that actor who plays his dad anyway.
Yeah,
in the first one.
Yeah, he's kind of like a mentor. He's not his dad. His dad.
That's what I mean. But
he plays like a father figure to him.
Exactly. That guy. He's
a great actor. A great actor.
That's a good movie.
I love that.
Isn't Tyler Perry in the movie?
Yeah, he plays like
one of the judges or something like that, right?
High-ranking kind of like official type of like.
He obviously loves Star Trek. He obviously loves Star Trek, right?
When I see him, I'm thinking like he must have just been a fanboy and like, get me in that movie. I'll play whatever you want me to play.
I'm not saying I like his movies, but I'm going to tell you what, I like that guy.
Yeah, especially what he's done in Hollywood. See what he's.
Hey, he says screw Hollywood. He did his own thing. He's from, Chicago, playwright. My wife and I knew about him before everything went.
But knowing his movies, and I wasn't necessarily really a big fan of his movies either, but to see how far he's come from just being a guy who made those like Medea and all that, and to see him being such a powerhouse in the film industry, it's just like it's pretty crazy to see how far he's come.
You know what? He seems like a pretty stinking cool person to hang
with.
And I think that when you're cool like that, great things happen. And I agree. So I think he's very talented.
I did that. Watched the Star Trek series. I like the sequels too. The only one I thought fell a little bit short was the third one, the third final of that trilogy for this crew. As far as the Star Trek J.J. Abrams series, second one had a Cumberbatch in it. He played Khan. I thought it was pretty good retelling of it. It wasn't dark and gritty, but it was pretty sleek, and it was a good story. Had what's his name? RoboCop. What's his name? The guy who played RoboCop. God, what's his name? That actor.
Well, see, I'm thinking Peter Weller because
Peter Weller. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah.
Oh,
have you seen the sequel to?
No, I'm not. I don't do a lot of sequels. Personally,
it was good. It was good. If you're matching it up with like the original Star Trek Wrath of Khan, it's not an exact match in terms of like how Khan is interpreted.
The original one was with
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah, the Cordoba. Yeah. He did the car commercials about and they had the rumor was he had chest like a plate put on because he had the real muscular.
Yeah.
The Wrath and they put the stuff in the ears.
Yeah.
Well, remember, and they crawled in the helmet, and the one guy went crazy. That's okay. But so do they have that in the second one?
They don't, but they have the premise of his backstory of like the lost crew, and he's like the main guy of that lost crew, and they're like trying to get the revenge, and so it's a good movie. I enjoyed it, and with Peter Weller is in it, and he plays a fantastic like side villain too. I don't want to give it away.
Did you see the RoboCop with him, the original?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, don't you think?
It is, especially the first one. Yeah,
the first one.
The second one was great too because they had that big giant robot too. I love that.
I like the bad guy in the first one, Clarence Boddicker, who was on the '70s show. We were talking about.
Yeah.
He's even on the '70s shows. He's scary.
Yeah, I know.
Like he can get up and beat everybody's ass, right?
I know.
Seems like a small guy, whatever. Oh, and he was the dad. Since we're Dead Poet Society.
Was he in Dead Poets?
He's the father of the actor who kills himself.
Oh, okay. Oh,
remember
he plays that role pretty well too because I remember he was kind of a hard ass and didn't want to.
Yeah, we pulled his son out. Remember? Everybody leave the. Yeah. So good stuff.
I would suggest give the sequel to the Star Trek a try. I think you would like elements of the movie. The third one had a different director. It had one of the Fast and Furious directors, one of the main guys in it. It's a little bit of that feel to it, which I didn't like. But it was still kind of like a fun little Star Trek movie. It wasn't the first two had a more serious tone to them. That one had a little bit more lighthearted tone, which I preferred the other two. But and then I went on continuing my sci-fi, while viewing. I went back and watched two of Luc Besson's sci-fis. Fifth Element. Rewatched Fifth Element. I actually bought them on Amazon because they were having like a discounted weekend of Amazon Prime Day. So I bought Fifth Element and his follow-up kind of sci-fi movie, Valerian.
Okay.
It kind of fell under the radar. It was huge budget. It was based off more like a international French comic book, but I guess he was a fan of growing up. But it was almost like a $300 million budget with marketing and filming and all that. And you could tell in the movie, but I think where it fell short was there was elements in there where they probably could have cut out some scenes, maybe 10 minutes or so out of the movie, and got to the point a little bit faster. But they kind of they put the movie on unproven box office actors. They're young actors basically, and when I think they're great in the movie. I enjoy them. You had first time actor model Cara Delevingne, she's fine in the movie. I thought she was a pretty decent actress for really being her first go. And then there's this other actor, you might have seen him before. He's like a little mini version of Leonardo DiCaprio. He looks like Leo too. His name is Dane DeHaan. Dane DeHaan.
Mm-mm.
He looks like a mini Leonardo DiCaprio. He's been in several movies. He's a pretty decent actor. But I thought the movie was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to watch it, and I've watched it twice this week. And watched it and liked it enough to buy it. I don't think it's as good as Fifth Element, but
well, it's a pretty spectacular piece.
Yeah, that's kind of a harder one to measure up to. But I thought it was a fun little sci-fi movie, and it had like a lot of big world elements, and it have Clive Owen in it. He's in it.
I love that guy, man.
Ethan Hawke's in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have several big name actors that make cameos that are pretty interesting. You have the singer Rihanna. She makes a small little cameo in it. So it was a cool movie. I enjoyed it, especially for the visual effects, the worlds. It's a very fun movie. It's not a perfect sci-fi movie. It's not as good as Fifth Element. Don't hold it up to that, but it's pretty decent. So that's kind of like my stuff for the week that I've been watching.
Well, I like that you watch it a couple times because it does make a difference on. You miss things. I try to catch the first one overall.
Yeah.
And then I watch visual, but then I'm really into the dialogue.
Yeah.
It means a lot. I really appreciate this well-written dialogue. Yeah. It's very fascinating. Plays are all based off of, great dialogue. So but I don't watch a lot of sci-fi stuff as much. Though I do love, obviously, the Terminator series and, parts of Star Wars and different things and Marvel and just different things. I like, it has to have good elements that I can connect to.
Yeah.
So really, we'll talk a little bit here at the end, pretty much at war movies.
War movies.
War movies are, we can go on. We say this every time and we'll go back to these again.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I grew up obviously a lot earlier than you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up during the Vietnam War. And it was on my TV at dinner time, the body counts. And I remember this whole deal. And we had a lot of soldiers and we bought the bracelets for the MIA. So a lot of the war movies that I like are really based off of Vietnam. In fact, my number one is Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
And that's by Francis Ford Coppola, obviously. Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen, Dennis Hopper, Harrison Ford's early movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much talks about how crazy Vietnam was. And I love the one scene where they're on the river and there's a guy with the machine gun and he's this big black guy's blasting stuff. And they go up to him and they say, "Hey, where's your commanding officer?" And he says, "Shit, aren't you him?" Just like, just the chaos. So Vietnam based, that's going to be my number one movie. And it's because of Marlon Brando, but it's also because of Francis Ford Coppola. And I think the opening sequence with Martin Sheen by himself in a room, and the way that the fans, the ceiling fan turns into the helicopter. I mean, I think the first 45, the orchestra music, remember the jungle's blowing up. I like the redo also where he remastered it and edited it and put it out because it has a couple more scenes with Duvall. Yeah. But that pretty much is going to be and I know it's number one. Number two would be Schindler's List.
Okay.
I mean, that's war, and that's the casualties of war. It's a Spielberg movie. We don't need to go on about it. If you don't know what Schindler's List is, you probably, I can't hang out with you. And it's Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes
all black and white. The only splash of color was a little girl with a red jacket, which is a memorable scene.
Well, that's because that's always been, and it's Spielberg was asked why the red, and there was always speculation that Elie Wiesel, the famous person who was in the camp and had hunted down Nazi criminals, the last time he saw his sister was in a red coat.
Oh, okay.
Spielberg said no, but first time that was seen, and everyone's read that book. It was a book we read in high school years ago. But that was the scene. It's just, I mean, it's a powerful movie.
It's a powerful movie. Yeah.
You know, I would like to go to Auschwitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have the friend I talked to you about who lives in Poland. He's been there a couple times, and he's a person. He's very agnostic, and his parents are you know, we all went to church together.
Yeah.
But he said that when he went to Auschwitz, he said I could see that there is a supernatural.
Yeah. Because
the vibe there is so heavy. Then I go to Full Metal Jacket, another Vietnam movie for me.
That's a great one.
It's, you know, Stanley Kubrick, one of the great directors, and it's the opening, the drill instructor, Lee Emery, who just was the instructor. You just can't beat that. Vincent D'Onofrio.
And he's such a classic.
Oh,
his voice is so iconic.
When they sing "Happy Birthday to Jesus" and they're with the cans, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
Then 4 again, Platoon.
Yeah. With
Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, I've seen it a million times. It's just basically good against evil. Tom Berger against William Dafoe as the sergeants. And just Charlie Sheen. I remember in that great movie, kind of weird that his dad did Apocalypse Now and then he did Platoon.
Yeah.
Oscar winning. All these films are Oscar winning films. And then the last one, is The Deer Hunter. And again, Vietnam movie, you look at Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, John Cazale, Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And it's just written and directed by Michael Cimino. And what's interesting is John Cazale, who was Freddy in The Godfather.
Yeah.
He was dating Meryl Streep during The Deer Hunter. He died of cancer, and she was at his bedside when she died.
That's
so,
and that guy is such a short-lived career, but like
Godfather,
his
Dog Day Afternoon, you know, Deer Hunter. I mean, the top, and these are all top 100 films of all time.
Yeah.
And was a huge theater guy.
Yeah.
So his
level of acting, you could just tell.
Well, he's New York.
Yeah.
You know, so those were my honorable mention is your favorite, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Patton, which I watched, Das Boot, about the German U-boat that's subtitled. Great movie. I mean, can you think of something crazier here? Let me get in a can and go 300 feet down so you can so you can go over me and drop bombs.
Yeah. No.
Like, who would pick that? That would not be on my thing. Can I go under the water and drown?
Yeah.
And then
heights or even being underwater like that, claustrophobic. Oh, no way. I don't.
And The Great Escape with Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
So these were the movies, and a lot of these, you know, when I grew up, war movies were big back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, you think about all the World War II movies, and I don't know why World War II wouldn't be bigger for me, unless maybe it was because, you know, my relatives, they were in the war. So
that's why Vietnam's a little bit more. If it hits home a little bit more with you because you were probably a young child around that time, so it's like,
oh, totally. It was on TV every day.
Yeah.
So I know you love Saving Private Ryan. Is that your number one?
I would say top 3. Now these may not be the best war movies, but they're the ones I enjoy watching a lot.
No, it's the ones that strike you emotionally. Yeah. That's all that matters.
Black Hawk Down.
Yes.
Was always one of my favorites. I just put it on sometimes just because I loved the cast, the young actors that were just newcomers at that time.
I like Sam Shepard.
Sam Shepard. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's so many big time stars in that movie.
So many. You don't even. even like a young Ewan McGregor and like Josh Hartnett and all these actors that eventually
what happened to
make it pretty
Josh
big.
Hartnett?
He's done pretty well for himself. I mean, he was on that show Penny Dreadful for 5-6 seasons.
But man, he was being pushed to be the movie star dude, man. He was good in that movie too, by the way. That was crazy.
Did you ever see his horror movie that he did, 30 Days a Night? Did you ever watch that one with the vampires?
Mm-mm.
It's a good one. He's up there in Alaska. It's a small little town. And that part of Alaska, there's like the whole month basically it's just kind of like darkness because the sun, the Earth's rotation and stuff or whatever like that. And the vampires end up taking over the town. So it's like a small little, Alaskan town.
That's going to be a bummer if it's dark if the sun's away for 6 months. You better have a good food supply.
That's the challenger there. So it was actually a pretty good movie.
I watched a movie with him where it was about the murder, the Black Dahlia, I believe.
Oh yeah. The Black Dahlia murder. Yeah. That was a good movie.
And he didn't fit the 40s or whenever that time period was for some reason.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Yeah.
It's amazing how some actors fit into that.
Yeah, they fit.
They actually look from the time. If that
like Mark Ruffalo in Zodiac, he like fits. I don't know that.
Did you see his movie? You Can Count on Me.
No, I don't think I have.
I highly recommend this movie. This movie is from Laura Linney plays his sister.
Okay,
it's killer.
Let me see. Another go-to of mine that I would put on every now and then, Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal.
About the Iraq War.
Yeah, about the
So that's going to be your favorite war movie about Iraq.
Yeah, but this was a Desert Storm. This is about like kind of takes place like early '90s. Desert Storm.
Yeah, but that's in Iraq though.
It's in Iraq. Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies because there's almost no like actual war gun shooting scenes. It's all just kind of like it gives you the inside look into the mentality and the effects of war on the person, the individual, and that's why I enjoy it so much because it's like there's no fighting in it really, but it's like a psychological war movie, and it's one of my
like when all the sky's orange from the smoke,
when the oil and all that. Yeah. It's got a great cast. You got Jake Gyllenhaal, Jamie Foxx, Peter Sarsgaard. It's one of my favorites.
Did you see Three Kings with George Clooney?
I did.
That would be that and Hurt Locker would be my two Iraq war movies personally.
Yeah. And a third that I found myself watching a lot. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan is there, but Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis
and Monica Bellucci. She plays like the nurse or doctor, right?
She plays like an Italian doctor down there at a mission. He's him and his unit, and his unit is like his group of Navy SEALs. There's some really good actors in that bunch, and they go down there to basically get her out of that location because you have a surging kind of rebel infantry.
Was that in Africa, correct?
In Africa, yeah. And then they end up taking the mission takes a turn where they end up escorting and almost the entire village, or at least a good portion of the village, to the safe borders, and then that's kind of how.
Is that based off a real story? Do you know?
I don't know. I think possibly. I never really looked into it, but I just love that movie because it's got a little bit of like. It's got really good, especially the end scene of the final battle shootout. You got some sniper shots in there. You got some really dramatic kind of like close quarter.
And you have Monica Bellucci.
And you got Monica Bellucci.
Which, I mean, in war, that's what you want.
Yeah. So
I mean, if it's your last days, then...
I recommend it. I think I don't know if you.
I like Bruce Willis.
Have you seen it in a while?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out.
Okay, I enjoy it. It's one of my ones that I would put on every now and then. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. Those would probably be my top three. I think notable mentions, and those are my top three because I enjoyed them. I put them on all the time. Those are the ones I go to. Saving Private Ryan is there.
The guy who shot Saving Private Ryan shot Schindler's List, Janusz Kaminski.
There you go.
And they're both visually stunning. So Gladiator would be a war movie.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you got to go. If we're talking about modern military war movies, these are probably some of our favorites.
Well, then Last of the Mohicans would be a war movie also, because you had the French and Indian, you had the British and the colonization.
You could go The Patriot with Mel Gibson, war movie, great one right there. You could go the movie 300. I love that movie.
That was just on TV today at lunchtime. I was watching.
There's a kind of a a movie taken from kind of actual events, interpreted from actual events, I guess. Another modern
I worked with a lot of guys who were vets in the trades back in the 80s in Chicago, and let's just say that we needed to be taking care of these people.
Yeah, it's true.
They said that the statistic is over 30% of the homeless population in America are ex-veterans.
No, I think so too. I don't think we do enough. And yeah,
so that's my social statement of today. But
no,
I worked with the guy years ago who had been in the Tet Offensive in Vietnam. That was the crazy attack during when they were supposed to and he had his best friend killed, and people who knew him before he went in and after, everybody there, he's not the same person.
Yeah.
No,
it's true. It's true.
Have you ever thought about being in the Army when you were younger or anything?
Yeah, when I was younger. Yeah. And this is like either debating whether I'm going to go to college or to the war, but when I was graduating high school, and even in high school, we were in deep with Afghanistan and Iraq, and I was just like, let me take my chances with college. So yeah.
And in some ways, that when I went to school, it was more dangerous. My brain cells, really took a beating in those years, and it was very dangerous. Very dangerous. So
notable mentions. I'm sorry. Enemy at the Gates.
Oh yeah,
Jude Law.
Yes, isn't it Ray Fiennes?
Ray Fiennes. Yep.
He's the other guy. Yeah, that guy's been in a lot of war movies, man. He must like them. He's in Hurt Locker too. Yeah. Ray Fiennes. Remember in that little area where the guys are pinned down, like they're like special forces dudes or whatever. Yeah. Excellent choice.
Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman.
Yes.
I enjoyed that one a lot. Fury with Mel Gibson with Brad Pitt.
Is Shia LaBeouf?
Yep, I enjoyed that one.
I always say his name wrong. I hope he doesn't hurt me someday. But anyway, yeah, he did another tank movie, Brad Pitt.
Did he? When did he do it?
I thought he did 2 war movies in a row.
He did one with Marion Cotillard. It was kind of like a.
Oh yeah. It was more
like more spy-ish. Yeah. Which you could throw obviously Glory.
Oh, I love that movie,
I'm going through a list here right now. See if some of my favorites stand out here. Did you ever see Free State of Jones?
Is that with McConaughey?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I'm not a big Civil War guy for some reason.
That was pretty good. You know what? A show that I highly recommend. This is more Revolutionary War. It's called Turn.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I did for a while.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite, especially with the Patriot and all that. It's one of my favorite genre of war movies. Is the Revolutionary War movies.
Well, then that would the Last Mohicans would work there for you.
Yeah. But Turn, I thought is just a great series overall. Just the cast, the storytelling, and even down to the last episode, the last scene, the way they ended the show. I think it was like a 4 or 5 season series.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites.
Well, we grew up I mean, because my mom was from Washington, or
Yeah.
the Maryland, D.C. area, and Frostburg. We as kids, when we went on a vacation, we always went to historical areas like Jamestown or Williamsburg, or Washington D.C. So we were historically, the Revolutionary War is, and I read a lot because I went through a period of reading about guides and a lot of people, and like Daniel Boone and different people, and it was interesting how that all. I mean, it's just amazing how things work out. I mean, what about communication? Here we are on a cell phone, and you're like, okay, get the bird.
Yeah.
Or
it's crazy how not that long ago some of those wars were, like the Civil War, even the Revolutionary War, to where some of the veterans lived long enough to have their photos taken, or like some of the last
Civil War person died in the 1960s or something like that. It was, I believe,
isn't that crazy?
And then I believe that the last World War I person died within the last couple of years for some reason. Or one of the wars.
The last Civil War, the Civil War.
What year is it? Did you look it up?
Yeah, the last person, the person, he died August 2nd, 1956. It was Albert Henry Wilson, born 1850. 1850, died August 2nd.
Oh man, he was thinking a teenager in that war.
Yeah. So when people think about
almost 495,000 people died in the Civil War.
Yeah, and
if you look at the amount of people in the country statistically, they said there wasn't nobody. They said that there wasn't anybody in America who didn't know somebody who died, not fought, but who died.
Yeah. Now think about how, like, when he died in 56, and that's not that long ago. So what year were you born?
62.
62?
17 years after World War II, when the whole world was at war. And think about 17 years in your life.
Yeah, and think about, like, there's people still, there is obviously people alive today that were around when this guy was still alive that possibly knew him, and he was in the Civil War, and then they're now living their lives in 2020. It's crazy. And let's say the last, let me look at the last living, what's another war?
World War One. Well, no, Revolutionary would not be alive.
I see the last Revolutionary War veteran died. So the last Revolutionary War veteran died in 1869.
Wow, after Civil War.
Yeah, and it says they only have a last name. But so when Wilson was born, he was born in what, 1850. The last Revolutionary War veteran died in 1869. So he was so that's two people. Let's say your father, think about it, that's like that's two people. If you're going back to the Revolutionary War, that's literally like, that could be two people, three people behind, like generation wise. It's not that long. And I think the photo, there's a photo. I'm looking stuff up here, but yeah, there's some of those Revolutionary War veterans. Obviously, they lived long enough to have their photos taken and their lives documented before they passed away. And they were, you should see some of these photos, man. They look like mummies, but yeah, they lived. It's crazy. It's not that long in between.
Well, human nature can't be good for long.
No.
Unfortunately, but these are all good picks of movies, though, and it's interesting. I like. There's. I mean, how many war movies are there going back to the 50s and 60s? I mean, really, after World War II, I mean, you had the Korean War. I mean, just it's very fascinating. But my mom's friend had a friend after my dad died. She had a guy friend, and he had a farm that the back end touched Antietam battlefield in Civil War.
Okay.
Antietam battlefield that was 8 hours or whatever, dusk to dawn or dark, 28,000 casualties in one day in that one battle alone in the Civil War. They were shooting, they would shoot like chains out of the cannons. I mean, it's just, and that was fought in the old Napoleon area. So it wasn't like people were hiding behind stuff. They're just hot. I would go like, hey, why don't we use that tree, man? That looks awesome.
Yeah, that's what
I'm going to go over there and make sure everything's cool.
I saw that movie, The Patriots, fun to see because Mel Gibson uses that guerrilla tactics in war to kind of take out, the British soldiers that were still using the old school stand in front of you, shoot till like a last man standing type of thing, and he.
And the accuracy of imagine if you had the accuracy of the weapons today.
Oh yeah. That's why
comparatively, it's staggering.
Yeah.
The amount of
I'm sure accuracy. Technology really changed a lot of those tactics too. Because once
did you get your gun?
No, not yet. No. It's I'm still waiting for they're backlogged. Everybody's buying up guns right now. So I'm gonna try to get them. If I don't buy it there, I'm gonna actually see if I can get it somewhere else because I kind of want it already, and it's not any it's more of just inventory. Everybody's buying up guns right now.
Oh yeah, and then there was a massive lawsuit against Smith and Wesson this year too. Really? Remember?
Okay.
Oh, huge because of one of the fatal mass shootings. They were put into a lawsuit. They had a big payout. So
okay.
Well, we live in a different time, man.
All right, man. Good episode. Fun episode today, huh?
Hey, good to catch up.
Yeah, good to catch up.
And the Zoom is 100 times better. Obviously, there's no problem. I mean, you can't have the cool background, but other than that, there was no glitches. I heard you continually, so good stuff. And have a good week, man.
Yeah, you too. All right, take care. We'll catch up.
All right.